Social networks are very stable across country. So there is little thing that the regulator can do on social networks. But by making the market more competitive, actually the regulator put pressure on the firm. So they need to be more competitive. So they need to open to talent outside the network. And that should be the way to go. I think that social network is a more general term for the old boy network. But it turned out that the network based on educational background is one of the most important social networks in society. In the US, for example, the donation to formal schools rank second only to donation to the church. That tells you how educational links are important. So in some sense, you can say that social networks are old boys networks. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002 in the US intend to impose more regulation on the board of directors in the US. They require that the board of directors must be more independent, and each independent director should be more qualified to avoid potential scandal, the like of Enron. But the problem is that in the world of corporate elites, each directors and each CEO know one another very well. It is a very small world. It is indeed the reason why we name our paper like the small world of corporate elite, because they know each other very well. So officially they don't have any conflict of interest, but they do know each other very well, and we are wondering whether these informal social ties are going to impact in a good way or in a bad way corporate governance. First things that we recommend is that the regulator should not think that by imposing some norm and restriction on the board of directors, that will make corporate governance more effective. We should completely ignore this illusion. Instead, the regulator should focus more on making the market more competitive. A good and competitive product market, gonna put more pressure on the firm than just regulation over regulation over regulations. The effect of social networks on firm performance or on the effectiveness of board of directors were not trivial because social network can be very good. Let's say if a board would like to recruit a CEO, the fact that some directors know well about the candidate can be a good thing because it's reduced the information asymmetry between the board and the candidate. And so maybe the board can know better about the candidate they are connected to. That is in theory. But on the other side, the fact that the candidate and some of the board members are close, they belong to the same social network, it can also have some negative impact if they try to collude to one another. So empirically, it is quite difficult to show which impact dominate, what is the dominant impact. And our paper makes sure that we recognize some positive impact of social networks, but by the end of the day, in the context of board of directors, we clearly see some negative impact of social networks.